Hello everyone and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I'm going to be reviewing one of the first board games I bought when I got into the hobby, and that is Betrayal at Mystery Mansion. Now we had played with some friends a game called Betrayal at House on the Hill, and we really enjoyed that game, and we liked the idea of getting a more family themed version of that game. And so when we saw that there was this Betrayal at Mystery Mansion that had the Scooby-Doo theme and was a much more appropriate theme for families, we decided we wanted to jump on and get that and try it out. We were excited to get it. Now, did it hold up to that or not? Well, stick with me for this review and find out. I want to start out by going over a basic gameplay, and that is, first of all, you're going to move up to your speed, which at the beginning you're just going to move one space anyway because you're quickly going to be unlocking a new tile. And once you unlock a new tile, you actually stop at the end of that tile and what happens there. And so you're going to move up to your speed, which is indicated on your player dial here. And his speed starts out at 3, and you can increase or decrease that as you go. And then you're going to flip a tile, either an inside tile if you're going inside, and on the back it says inside, or you're going to flip an outside tile if you're exploring outside the manor. And so you're going to flip that tile, and if it's going to have different icons on it, like right there you have the item icon, and so you get an item that way. So here's just an example. You get a banana, and it tells you on it what it's going to do. And then this one here has the event symbol on it, and so the event's going to happen. And some of those have some extra text on there that you're going to resolve. Sometimes if you're the person that revealed it, sometimes anytime you end your turn there, you'll resolve that. And so you're going to move, flip a tile if you land on an unexplored area, and then you either get the item, or you also can get a clue, or you're going to roll, and you're going to roll to see if a haunt happens if you get a clue, or you're going to have an event. And the more clues that have been found, the more likely the haunt will begin as you roll more dice to get 5 or more. And you've got these dice that have 1s, 2s, and blank spaces on them. And of course, when you're rolling for a haunt early, you want to get a lot of those blank spaces and not get up to that haunt early, because you want to be prepared for the haunt by exploring more of the mansion and by getting items and different things that are going to help you when the haunt starts. And so you're going to be exploring, getting those items, clues, doing events until that haunt begins. And when the haunt begins, you choose someone to be the monster, and their character gets trapped. They're not a traitor like in the original Betrayal, but they become trapped, and they then take on the role of the monster, and it becomes a one-against-many type game. And the haunt varies depending on the 1 to 5 scenarios that are selected. At the beginning of the game, you're going to select one of these. And then wherever you happen to land, whatever clue was last found, you're going to look on the back here to see which haunt you're going to turn to. You're going to turn and read that together, as well as the person who becomes the monster, the bad guy, is going to read their own special book. And so you've got 2 different books here. You've got Secrets of Survival, and you've got the Monster's Tome. And so the monster is going to read their tome and figure out what they need to do. You can, as well, since this is a family kind of game, choose to read it together, especially if you have those that have trouble reading or figuring out what their thing means and how to play their monster. And so you can read those together. That's kind of an interesting way that they kind of added that in to make it a little bit more family friendly. So let's go ahead and get into my thoughts on the game. I want to start with theme. The theme is great. I think it works very well with Betrayal, and it's a very kid-friendly version of it, and it also adds some nostalgia for adults. And so I really love the theme. You're finding clues instead of having the omens come up, and so it all works really well as far as the theme goes. Now, the components themselves are not the greatest quality, but they're okay for the cost. I would have preferred that these be better, but the same way with all the Betrayals thus far is they don't work, they don't slide very easily, and it's covering up some of the information as far as you can't easily see which is courage, which is might, which is speed, and all that different stuff without kind of adjusting this out. And then you kind of have to barely have it on there, or you're covering up the number as well. There's certainly better ways they could have integrated this a bit. It's okay though, especially when you consider the price and all the different kind of cardboard pieces there, but this is like a $25, $35 game. You expect them not to be the fanciest pieces, but there is one exception that I want to bring out really about as far as the components go, and that is the Scooby Snack tokens. There aren't enough of them. If you are having a 5-player game, you are already going to have 7 of the 10 tokens as starting tokens. Even if you're playing a 4 or 3 player game, you're going to have troubles. You can potentially run out of a 3 player game. You're likely going to run out in a 4 player game, and guaranteed to run out of tokens in a 5 player game. And so I wish there was more of them included in the box. We've had to substitute in the pizza tokens when they weren't being used for the haunt. And so it's just, they could have included more of those tokens. 15 would have probably been enough. The most you're going to need is 17, I believe, if everybody was maxed out. So 15 probably would have handled it, but 10 just isn't enough. Now the artwork is appropriate for the theme. It's very fitting, and you know, as you explore the different rooms, they look good. You've got the different standees, which you know, standees aren't the best, but they work well for this theme as far as being able to really see the images there. And so I don't have a problem with the artwork. The artwork is great, and the components are good enough, with the exception of not having enough Scooby snacks. Now, as far as the gameplay itself goes, this is really where this game falls apart for me. The beginning of the game plays very closely to Betrayal, and so it's very fine. It's just as expected. You are exploring the house. It's kind of fun to kind of go from place to place, and you flip that tile, and you hope that it's going to be something beneficial for you, that you're going to get something good out of it. And it's fun to be exploring that. It's probably the highlight of all the Betrayal games, is the exploration stage, and it works very well here as well. But there are too few tiles in the game, and with something happening with every tile flip, you quickly start a haunt compared to regular Betrayal. This leads to the haunt being less than satisfying, as you are always in range of each other. Many of the haunts really require either the players or the trader to be able to put some space between them and the other ones for the haunt to play well. Some haunts are downright broken because of the constant proximity to all players. It just doesn't play well at all. The game has promise, but that lack of space, even if you were to get every tile out before the haunt began, still is claustrophobic as far as you being tied in with one another. And that really kills the gameplay for me. They probably did this to speed up the game and make it a quick game for kids, but they did it at the cost of the game being even decent to play for most of the haunts. A few of the haunts work okay with the lack of space. In fact, the one we played most recently did okay as far as the space goes. And so it was fine, but a lot of them I found just you don't have enough space in the house itself to really make the haunt worth even playing. Now, as far as replayability goes, it would be decent for the price from the amount of haunts that you get, plus that randomness that's thrown in as to which haunts are going to come up. But as well as randomness as far as the items you get, the events that come up, and all those different things, adds to the replayability. But honestly, due to that major gameplay issue that I found, it takes the hit to me, because I found myself not wanting to play this game after a few games from that standpoint. Some final thoughts. The theme is great. The gameplay would have had some promise if there were more tiles, and not adding any more clue tiles, so you're not having that fast haunt come up as well. You know, if you kept the same amount of clue tiles but added some blank tiles or some other tiles that give you other things even, it would have been much better, because you could have spread out a little bit more, and the haunt would take a little bit longer to start, so that you can have more of a preparedness for that haunt, as well as more of the house built up. And so to keep the haunt from happening too fast and being prepared, that would have been good. And just allow the house to be big enough, that would have been good. As far as my rating of this game goes, I originally rated it a 4 out of 10. I'm going to, after our last gameplay, bump that to a 5 out of 10, just because there are some haunts that do work decently, even with the small space there, and that was one of them. And so I felt it warranted kind of a slight bump up to a 5 out of 10 there. That's my final rating for this game. It's an okay game, but it really kind of falls apart when the haunt happens if you need the extra space and you weren't able to build it up because there's not enough tiles, even if you were to use all of them. And so if they'd added more tiles, it would have been great. As it stands, I rated it a 5 out of 10. Hope you've enjoyed this review. I hope it's given you something to think about. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video.